Hey, happy Monday again. Something came my way I thought was interesting and once again, funny as fuck. I had a headache. In fact, I was on the phone with Will this morning. I had to cut it short. I'm like, dude, I woke up, I don't drink, not my thing, so I don't get hangovers. But occasionally, if I have maybe 1, 2, or 3 too many Uncle Brian lifters, following day I can be a little sluggish, and that's how I feel today. So, but I heard something I thought was funny. Never heard anything about how his yak session went last night. I already put up a video. I said, Brian, you gotta fucking see this. So I did go out of my way to watch it. Got the MC Hammer car back to the track, but couldn't make a pass. He barely got it off the trailer long enough before he got it back on the trailer and went home. Couldn't keep it running. He had his ketchup bottle, squirt bottle with gas, shoot it in the carbs, it would fire up and then boom, die. Couldn't figure out why. Could not figure out why. I don't know about you, but if that's happening, chances are it's telling you that those carburetors are not getting fuel. What's the easiest thing to check? I know in a lot of cases, we just pull the fuel line from the carb and crank it over. If you've got a mechanical fuel pump, you'll see gas squirting out of that. You've got an electric fuel pump. As soon as it has juice, it's pumping, you're going to see gas squirting out of that. Wouldn't that be something to automatically go to and check? Hey, it won't stay running. It's not getting gas. Right, let me pull the fuel line. Hey, crank it over, You see you got nothing of it. It's barely trickling out. You know you got either a bad fuel pump or you have blockage in the line. Common sense would tell you that, but he couldn't figure it out. Could not figure it out. So went back on the trail when he went home. Mr. Know-It-All. Big top, you could dial in fucking top fuel nitro cars. Yeah, right. Think I got into that already. And he can't figure out simple shit. And then he's back at his shop and he's showing an old fuel line connector. I found a problem. Fuel line leading up to the cars was, it's all collapsed inside. I thought it was a steel braided line. It looks like a steel braided line, but as it turns out, it's what, nylon, And even a steel braided line, they still have that rubber cord. The fuel line itself is actually still rubber. And that steel braiding on it. Actually, it really doesn't do much. It's more for looks than anything else, in my opinion. But I'll hear, well, it helps keep that rubber hose from swelling and blistering and whatnot and getting distorted. Yeah, that's true, I guess. But for the most part, how many guys have steel braided lines? It looks great when you open the fucking hood. Let's face it, I never had them. But I know they look nice. Well, it's all collapsed inside. How was I supposed to know? Steel braided line, well, it looked like a steel braided line. I didn't check it to see if it was, a nylon casing or a steel braided casing. Who checks these things? You don't know the fucking difference? You mean to tell me you can't pick up a steel braided line in one hand, a nylon braided line or whatever plastic it is they use to simulate it? You can't tell that's not fucking steel. Squeeze a steel braided line. It's very difficult. You can squeeze those. There is a difference. He doesn't even know the fucking difference. It's something like this. Right after he first noticed that it's not getting any fuel to the carbs, why keep squirting and trying? Wouldn't that tell you the first time these carbs aren't getting fuel? Listen, let me pull this line. Was his wife or somebody was with him, because obviously somebody was shooting a video. Can you turn it over, keep his face out of the way so it don't hit him in the face, see what's coming out of that fuel line? That would have told him right then and there. Something's wrong in here. It ain't going to happen. Why even bother fucking around with it for 10 or 15 more minutes? It ain't getting fuel. You either got a clogged line or a bad fuel pump. It's real easy to diagnose. You know what I mean? Couldn't seem to do that. Kept fucking with it. Anyway, couldn't even make a pass this time. Maybe it did him a favor. Once again, it would just fucking embarrass itself again. He would have to think up ways to make more fucking excuses. Oh, the converter still ain't right. Maybe I got to swap out the gear again. Maybe I got to play with the timing. Maybe I got to rejet the cars. And he would have gone through his whole scenario of fucking scripted excuses. Yet he keeps it in his back fucking pocket. Because he needs it. Then he gets back to his shop. I found the problem. It was this, and he's showing it. You know, I didn't bother checking it. Who checks these things? Really, who checks these things? He makes excuses for not just his cars, but for himself. There's poor judgment and incompetence. Yeah, people check those fucking things. You know what I mean? Before you put it on, oh, you know what? It's been laying around in a pile with all old parts for a long time. Maybe before you put it on, you should have maybe gone blow through it. You see if it blows clean, you know, it hasn't collapsed anywhere on the inside. Or if you blow through it and you find it's air's coming out, but you got to blow kind of hard and not as much is coming out as what's going in. You know, there could be some blisters, a little bit of collapsed spots in there. You know, it's no good. You don't put the fucking thing on. You know, people actually do check shit when they put it on their fucking car, but not him. Then he found out why his spark plug, the gap was closing up. Because of detonation. Detonation. Quite frankly, I could be wrong. I never had a detonation problem, but I knew guys that did. And the only time it affected just once, it usually affected all of them. Unless there was a serious problem with one cylinder. Maybe a burnt valve, partially burnt valve, bent valve. Something was going on in that one particular cylinder that was causing the detonation, that nothing was happening in the other 7 cylinders. Only that one cylinder. Didn't that thing have a problem from day one? When he first built it and started up, people even commented on it, as I recall. That thing's making a funny noise. Something ain't right in one bank of that engine, and even one of the exhausts, one of them was puffing smoke. Remember that? And he said it was, I think at the time, he said, that's nothing. The rings just need to seat, you know. Then we know what happened with Al. You know, Al turned the oil into milk, didn't know what he was doing. He had to rebuild and re-ring the whole engine. You never saw him do anything with it. You never even saw him show the fucking bad ring he pulled out of it. He claims he re-ringed it. He knew that thing had a problem from day one. Why? Wasn't it he replaced, it had all stock pistons, but he put one TRW piston in it, so it had one mismatched piston in that thing to fucking begin with. You know what I mean? But he had no choice because he had no other spare old junk ones to put in, like the other 7 old junk ones he put in that fucking thing. So I got one new piston. I think somebody said it was a TRW. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. Somebody said, I think things had problems from day one. You know? And even now, they got gas wash. Wasn't Sandy with him? Sandy's, man, he's the carb master. He still can't dial in his fucking Dominators on his Casper. They're not so friendly goes, you know. He was there. He wasn't racing. He didn't race a truck or a minivan or some shit like that at the No-Show Nationals. Give him credit. At least he showed up. Sanford didn't. And my understanding, he was doing most of the tuning in the pits. Even on the videos, it was Sandy leaning over the carbs and adjusting. Al took it back out, made it run. Sandy was adjusting it. But yeah, Al got thrown under the bus for fucking up the carbs. Sandy's name was never mentioned. And Sandy had more hands-on that fucking engine than Al did. But he didn't fuck anything up. Only Al. Right? We all know the deal with that. But all he did was offer up one fucking excuse now after another. With this MC Hammer car. And now he's going to dig in and diagnose things. Diagnose things that a fucking kid in our New Bedford Vocational taking auto shop class, you know, would have figured out in a fucking second. Okay, we got this car here. Listen, we can start it up with, you know, quick start, spray, ether, pour some gas in it. It won't stay running. What's wrong? It's not getting fuel to the carbs. Okay, what's the first thing you check? Check to see if fuel is getting to the carbs. How do you do that? You disconnect the fuel line to the carbs. Then what do? You turn the engine over, whether it's got a mechanical fuel pump or whether it's got a electric fuel pump. It's going to stop pumping gas. You see if any gas is coming through, or if gas is just barely trickling through, which tells you that there's either a blockage in the fuel line or your pump is not working properly. Real simple shit. Any 7th, 8th, and 9th grader in auto shop at Vocational Technical High School here in New Bedford could figure out within 5 minutes. But he couldn't seem to figure that out. Kept fucking with it after a while. That's it, I'm giving up. He fucked around with that thing for a while. He never once even pulled the fucking fuel line. Something in an auto shop. Kid would have done. Pulled the fuel line, whoever was there with him is shooting the video. Can you get in and crank it over? I want to see if anything's coming out of this line. Wouldn't that be the first fucking thing anybody would do? He couldn't figure that out. Okay, I'm tired. I got a headache. I actually took some fucking aspirin today. I bought the cheap shit at Family Dollar. Acetaminophen. Same thing as a big name brand. Don't pay as much. So I guess that's about it. I got something in store for you for Happy Tuesday tomorrow. See you then.